Hello everyone, welcome back to the 10 steps to building AI skills in genealogy. I'm Coach Carol and I'm thrilled to help you discover artificial intelligence and how it can help you transform your family history research, planning, ancestral storytelling. This is step 4 of the 10 steps. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting applications of AI in genealogy, and that is document analysis. I'll show you how you can get AI to help you unlock information from historical documents, from census records to old letters and wills, and you'll learn practical techniques that you can start using immediately to interpret your family documents. I'll also give you a couple of practical examples and a live demonstration. And along the way, tips for validating your AI-generated interpretations. Let's start with a set of case studies or use case scenarios. In other words, what will you get AI to interpret? What documents could you include? And I've listed a few there. I'm sure you can think of more. But we often discover collections of old documents like wills, census records, diaries, journal entries, letters, and newspaper articles during our research. Imagine having access to a collection of handwritten war diary pages of a World War I soldier, or an old diary of the minutiae of an ancestor's life. Now, transcripts are often found in the major database that you use for your family history development, such as Ancestry, and they're mostly in place for the records like census and marriage, birth, and death. However, sometimes handwritten documents need clarification. Techniques for using AI to transcribe old handwriting are included here in this lesson today. There's a specialist tool that you might consider for transcribing old documents called Transcribus or Transcribus. However, my preference is to use an AI tool called Claude Sonnet for this task. Claude can provide a plausible transcript if you give it careful training and prompting. It can also be very useful to segment any long documents into manageable chunks. And this is part of the training techniques that you would use when transcribing old documents. And you might do that before uploading them to Claude, remembering one of the rules is not to overload your prompts, and your training can then be done in segments. There's a general analysis approach that you could use, including initial assessment, which will give document type identification and time period confirmation, and then a general condition evaluation with content overview, visible text identification, often important when you are dealing with very old and poorly written documents, visible text identification, and then for your form structure analysis, any special notations or marks. A detailed examination can be done section by section and can often bring you pattern recognition and context for that document. So this is your plan of attack, your approach for your general analysis. So this is what you have in mind for your AI tool to do. You'll need to then prompt the tool for clear document analysis. And you can use simple terms like these, substituting your data for anything in the square brackets. For example, I'm looking at a document type from the year location, and the document characteristics include this format, this condition, and these visible elements. The task for your AI tool is then iterated. You'll ask it to help you understand the document's purpose and structure, identify standard formatting for this period, note any typical abbreviations or terms, and ask it to suggest key details to look for. This AI-assisted transcription process is what the tool will use to break down the task for your required transcription. It goes through the character analysis, a word recognition, and then a full text assembly. These large language models excel at this task because that's what they have been designed for and have a vast knowledge base on which they can draw from. Within the character analysis, they look at the letter formation, common abbreviations and special characters, and then in word recognition, look for context clues, period-specific spelling, and any regional variations. And then for the full text assembly, they're looking at sentence structure, document flow, and internal consistency. So that's the nuts and bolts of the transcription process. So here's another prompt that you might use for sample AI handwriting analysis. Once again, substituting your data for those in brackets. I'm working with a handwritten document type from a year, and the visible characteristics are a particular handwriting style. Here's a list of the clear words, and here's a few of the challenging sections. Then ask the tool to help you identify letter formation patterns, suggest likely words for the unclear sections, explain any common abbreviations, and provide historical context for the terms. Extracting information from complex documents is another task that your AI tool will gladly help you with. These historical documents hold the keys to our ancestors' stories, but they can often be challenging to read and interpret. In today's lesson, I've included one practice element for census details or records and another for using newspaper articles. And it's this extracting key information that is important when analysing old newspaper articles. The systematic information extraction includes looking at the core data identification, such as names, dates, places and relationships, occupations and events. That could be extracted from documents such as obituaries, as well as census records. Secondary information might be relevant to those newspaper articles when you might have details about witnesses and neighbours, property descriptions, and social indicators. And then 3, contextual details. Historical events, local customs, and social conditions can all be extracted from that document to make sense of what was happening at the time. So a prompt for your information extraction could look like this. From this document type, I can see certain visible information. Please help me identify key information categories, suggest related details to look at, note typical supplementary information, and explain the historical context. Validation techniques are an important part of the process. Your validation checklist might include the following: a cross-reference check, a logical assessment, and historical accuracy, where you're interrogating the responses from the AI tool. You might want to ensure that names follow period conventions. Dates are historically possible, that the locations existed at the time, and occupations match the era, and the relationships make sense. Also, that ages are consistent information matches for other sources. And you'll be able to do all that by comparing the responses from the known facts that you have and any other data that you can glean from your research. In this example, I'm showing you a sample census analysis using the 1921 census as an example. I got really excited today because I was alerted to the fact that Ancestry.com now had access to the 1921 census records for England and Wales. So I was busy finding those documents for my family groups, some of which I had already and others were new. In this slide, you're seeing an example of a 1921 census layout, which was much more involved and detailed than what had previously been done in the 1911 census records, and of course much clearer in detail from those from other years, stretching back to 1841. In particular, the 1921 census was handwritten by the head of the family or a person in that household at the time. So you're now seeing the handwriting of your ancestors. The census gives us an example of document overview, so the forms layout, the column headings, and any special notations. Provides a household analysis for family relationships, occupations, ages, and birthplaces. And if you have copies of other census records for that same street, then you'll get a neighbourhood context, looking at adjacent households, community patterns, and local industries. In using the extraction process from AI, newspaper articles are particularly interesting to interrogate. I'm sure that, like me, you have a collection of these old newspaper articles that you've researched, and by using an AI tool, you can piece together a story that can emerge from a collection of these newspaper articles. It does a fine job. Claude Sonnet, in fact, does a fine job in doing exactly that, and I'll show you this in an example later. So the key takeaways for this lesson for document analysis is to use AI systematically for that analysis, to combine AI insights with historical knowledge, and always validate AI interpretations. You could build a collection of successful prompts that you use in the process to reuse over and over again. And of course, as always, maintain your research standards. The next steps for you include the practice of either or both a transcription or extraction prompt with sample documents from your collection. I suggest a census record as a simple one to start with, and if you've got newspaper articles, you might like to have a go at that. Create your document analysis template and share your results with the Facebook group if you wish. And of course, prepare for tomorrow's lesson on storytelling.